In the glittering penthouse atop Thorne Tower in Manhattan, Alexander Thorne paced his opulent study like a lion in a cage. The room was a testament to his empire, a sprawling real estate conglomerate that spanned continents, with shelves lined in leather-bound first editions, a gleaming mahogany desk cluttered with contracts worth billions, and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the twinkling New York skyline. At 45, Alex was the epitome of self-made success, sharp-suited, impeccably groomed, and utterly intolerant of inefficiency. His latest deal, a $2.5 billion merger with a consortium of international investors from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, was teetering on the edge. One wrong move, and it could all crumble. "Damn it, where's that file?" Alex muttered, slamming his laptop shut. His assistant had called in sick, food poisoning from some sketchy street vendor, she'd said, and now he was left scrambling before a crucial video conference. He glanced at his Rolex. 8:45 p.m. The call with the lead investor, a reclusive Saudi tycoon named Khalid Al-Mansour, was set for 9 o'clock sharp. Al-Mansour's firm was the linchpin, but rumors swirled that he was wavering, spooked by volatile markets and whispers of regulatory hurdles. That's when Elena entered the room, her footsteps soft on the Persian rug. At 32, Elena Vasquez was the invisible force keeping Thorne's world spotless. Hired through a high-end domestic service agency 6 months ago, she was a single mother from Queens, scraping by on minimum wage plus tips that Alex rarely remembered to give. Her uniform, a crisp black dress with a white apron and cap, felt like a relic from another era, but it paid the bills for her and her 8-year-old son Miguel. Elena's life was a far cry from Alex's. Mornings at a community college brushing up on business English, afternoons cleaning luxury apartments, and evenings here, in the Lion's Den. She carried a silver tray with his usual evening espresso, steam curling from the demitasse cup. "Mr. Thorne, your coffee," she said quietly, her voice laced with a faint accent that Alex had never bothered to place. Was it Spanish? Portuguese? He didn't care. Alex waved her off without looking up. "Not now. Can't you see I'm busy?" He rifled through a stack of papers, cursing under his breath. "Where the hell is the translator app on this thing? I need to confirm these terms in Arabic before the call." Elena hesitated, setting the tray down gently. She'd overheard enough of his rants to know the deal's stakes. "Sir, if you need help with languages, I could." He finally glanced at her, his expression twisting into a smirk. "You? Help with languages?" Alex let out a sharp laugh, the kind that echoed off the walls like a slap. "Elena, right? You're the maid. You dust shelves and scrub floors. What, you gonna translate a billion-dollar contract with your mop?" He chuckled again, shaking his head as if the idea was absurd. "Stick to what you know. I've got apps for this stuff." Elena's cheeks burned, but she kept her composure. Growing up in a multicultural neighborhood in Miami, the daughter of a Cuban father and a Brazilian mother, she'd learned languages like others learned to ride bikes. Spanish from home, Portuguese from her mom's side, English from school. Then, as a teen, she'd picked up French and Italian from exchange students at her high school. Working odd jobs in her 20s, waitressing in tourist traps, tutoring immigrants, she'd added Mandarin from Chinese co-workers, German from a stint at a Bavarian bakery, and even some Arabic and Russian from online courses during sleepless nights after Miguel was born. Hebrew came from a Jewish community center where she'd volunteered, and Japanese from anime marathons with her son. 10 languages in total, not fluency in all, but enough to navigate conversations, read documents, and bridge gaps. It was her hidden superpower, buried under layers of humility and necessity. But to Alex, she was just the help. Invisible until something spilled. "Go on, get out," he said, still laughing lightly as he turned back to his screen. "I don't need amateur hour." Elena nodded stiffly, retreating to the hallway. She paused by the door, hearing him fumble with his phone's translation app. "Idiot machine," he grumbled. Part of her wanted to storm back in, to prove him wrong. But pride. That was a luxury she couldn't afford. Rent was due, and Miguel needed new shoes. So she busied herself in the kitchen, polishing silverware that probably cost more than her monthly salary. As 9 o'clock approached, Alex connected to the video call. Al-Mansour appeared on screen, his face stern beneath a traditional thobe, flanked by advisors speaking in rapid Arabic. The pleasantries went fine, English was the common ground, but when they dove into the contract details, chaos erupted. Al-Mansour's lead negotiator, a sharp-tongued woman named Fatima, switched to French mid-sentence, citing clauses from a subsidiary agreement. Alex's app lagged, mistranslating acquisition as accusation. Then, a Japanese partner chimed in, demanding clarifications in Mandarin-inflected English that the app butchered entirely. Sweat beaded on Alex's forehead. "Hold on, let me get my interpreter online," he stalled. But the connection was spotty, and the hired translator was MIA, stuck in traffic, according to a frantic text. The call devolved into a babble of tongues, Arabic demands, French rebuttals, a smattering of German from a European banker. Alex's empire hung by a thread. That's when his phone buzzed, an internal line from the kitchen. "Elena. Sir, I couldn't help overhearing. If you put me on speaker, I can translate." Alex froze, his laughter from earlier echoing in his mind like a bad joke. With no other options, he hit accept. "Fine. But don't screw this up." As Elena's voice filled the room, seamlessly switching between languages, Alex's world tilted. Who was this woman he'd dismissed so casually? Alexander Thorne stared at the phone on his desk as if it had just sprouted wings. Elena's calm, steady voice came through the speaker, cutting through the multilingual chaos on the video call like a lighthouse beam in fog. "Mr. Al-Mansour, allow me to clarify," she said in flawless formal Arabic, her tone respectful but confident. "The clause in question refers to the phased acquisition of the Dubai waterfront properties, not an outright purchase. The escrow terms protect both parties in the event of regulatory delays." On the screen, Khalid Al-Mansour's thick eyebrows rose. He leaned forward, peering past Alex as if trying to spot the source of the voice. "Who is this?" he asked in Arabic, a hint of intrigue breaking his usual stoic demeanor. Alex cleared his throat, suddenly aware of how disheveled he must look, tie loosened, hair slightly askew. "That's my associate," he lied smoothly, the word tasting foreign in his mouth. "She's handling real-time translation tonight." Fatima, the Saudi negotiator, switched to rapid Parisian French, firing off a pointed question about liability caps in the European subsidiaries. Without missing a beat, Elena responded in equally crisp French, citing the exact paragraph numbers and even correcting a minor mistranslation in the original English draft. Alex's jaw tightened. He watched the faces on the screen soften, nods from the German banker, a small smile from the Japanese partner whose Mandarin concerns Elena addressed next with polite precision. She flowed effortlessly, Arabic to French to Mandarin to German, occasionally slipping in Italian when one of the Milan-based investors chimed in. It was like listening to a UN interpreter who'd grown up on the streets of Queens. 10 minutes in, the tension that had gripped the call began to unravel. Al-Mansour's advisors stopped interrupting. Questions became collaborative instead of combative. When a Russian oligarch joined late and grumbled in thickly accented Russian about currency fluctuation risks, Elena greeted him warmly in his native tongue and walked him through the hedging provisions. The man actually chuckled, a rare sound from someone notorious for never smiling in negotiations. Alex sat back in his leather chair, hands steepled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, useless. For the first time in his adult life, he wasn't the smartest person in the room. Hell, he wasn't even in the conversation. He was just the guy whose name was on the letterhead. From the kitchen intercom, Elena kept going, her voice never wavering. He pictured her standing at the Marble Island, phone pressed to her ear, still in that ridiculous Maid uniform, apron slightly askew from hours of work. The image made his stomach twist with something uncomfortably close to shame. After 45 minutes, Al-Mansour raised a hand. "I believe we are aligned," he said in English, his tone warmer than when the call began. "Ms. Vasquez," Elena supplied quietly. "Ms. Vasquez, your command of languages is exceptional. And your understanding of the contract details, impressive." He paused, glancing at Alex. "Mr. Thorne, you have excellent staff." Alex forced a smile. "Yes. The best." The call wrapped with handshakes over screens and promises to finalize signatures by morning. When the last participant signed off, The study fell silent except for the low hum of the city far below. Alex exhaled slowly, running a hand over his face. The deal was saved. $2.5 billion, thousands of jobs, his reputation, all intact because of the woman he'd mocked less than an hour ago. He pressed the intercom button. "Elena, come in here, please." A moment later, she appeared in the doorway, phone still in hand, expression unreadable. Up close, he noticed things he'd never bothered to see before: the faint exhaustion under her eyes, the way she held herself with quiet dignity despite the uniform that marked her as staff. Her dark hair was pulled back neatly under the cap, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She waited, saying nothing. Alex stood, suddenly unsure what to do with his hands. "That was incredible," he said finally. The words felt inadequate. "How the hell do you speak all those languages?" Elena shrugged slightly. "I grew up hearing Spanish and Portuguese at home. Picked up the rest along the way. Jobs, neighbors, night classes. You learn what you need to survive." He nodded, processing. "Look, about earlier, I was out of line. I laughed at you. That was," he searched for the word, "unacceptable." Her eyes met his directly, no flinching. "It's not the first time someone's assumed I'm just the maid, Mr. Thorne. Won't be the last." The directness hit him harder than anger would have. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. "The deal closed because of you tonight. I owe you more than an apology." Elena glanced at the clock on the wall. Nearly 10:30. "I should finish up and head home. My son's with a sitter." "Of course." He hesitated. "At least let me get you a car." "It's late. I take the subway." "It's fine." Alex almost argued, then stopped himself. Pushing would only make him look more like the entitled ass he'd been all evening. As she turned to leave, he called after her. "Elena." She paused. "Tomorrow, could you come in early? I'd like to talk. Properly." She studied him for a long moment, as if weighing whether he deserved the chance. Finally, she nodded once. 8 o'clock. Then she was gone, her soft footsteps fading down the hall. Alex sank back into his chair, staring at the dark screens. For the first time in years, the silence of his penthouse felt less like power and more like emptiness. The next morning, Elena arrived at Thorne Tower at 7:58 a.m., 2 minutes early, the way she always did. She'd barely slept. Miguel had woken up twice with a cough, and the subway had been delayed by a signal malfunction. Still, she looked composed, hair neatly pinned under the cap, uniform pressed, a small canvas tote over her shoulder carrying her community college textbooks. The doorman waved her through with a familiarity reserved for long-term staff. On the private elevator ride to the penthouse, she stared at her reflection in the polished brass walls and wondered what exactly Alexander Thorne wanted to talk about properly. When the doors slid open, Alex was already waiting in the foyer, dressed down for him, charcoal slacks, white button-down with sleeves rolled up, no tie. He held 2 steaming mugs. The aroma of real coffee, not the instant she usually made for herself, filled the air. "Good morning," he said, offering one of the mugs. "Colombian dark roast. I figured you could use it." Elena accepted it cautiously. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne." "Alex," he corrected. "After last night, I think we're past the formalities." She didn't reply, just took a small sip. It was perfect, strong, no sugar, the way she liked it. She wondered how he knew. He gestured toward the living room instead of the study. Sunlight poured through the massive windows, bouncing off the Hudson River below. They sat on opposite ends of a low-slung Italian leather sofa that probably cost more than her annual salary. Alex didn't waste time. "I spent half the night thinking about what happened. The deal closed this morning. Wire transfers are already moving. Almansor's team sent a separate email thanking Ms. Vasquez, personally. They want you on the next call, by name." Elena nodded slowly. She'd expected something like this. "I was an arrogant jackass yesterday," he continued. "I judged you by the uniform instead of the person in it. That's on me. But I'm not here to just apologize again." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I want to make you an offer." Here it comes, she thought. Bonus check, maybe a raise. Enough to quiet his conscience. I need someone who can do what you did last night, regularly. My company is expanding aggressively into international markets. We have projects in Dubai, Sao Paulo, Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow. Deals fall apart because of language gaps and cultural missteps more often than I'll admit publicly. I've burned through 3 high-priced translation firms in the last year alone. None of them could keep up like you did. He paused, studying her face. I want to create a new position, Director of Global Communications and Cultural Liaison. Reports directly to me. 6-figure starting salary. Let's say $175,000 to start. Full benefits, 401k match, health coverage for you and your son. Tuition reimbursement if you want to finish your degree. And you'd travel, business class of course. Elena blinked. The mug trembled slightly in her hand. $175,000. That was more than triple her current pay. Miguel could go to the good after-school program. They could move out of the cramped one-bedroom in Astoria. College wouldn't be a distant dream anymore. But she'd been burned before by promises from rich men who saw her as temporary help. And the uniform? She asked quietly. Alex looked confused for a second, then realized. Gone. Day 1. You'd dress like any other executive. Office on the 62nd floor, not the service entrance. She set the mug down carefully. Why me? There are professionals with Ivy League degrees in international relations who'd kill for that role. Because none of them saved a $2.5 billion deal for my kitchen intercom at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, he said bluntly. And none of them grew up navigating real-world languages the way you did. Book smarts are easy to hire. Street smarts plus 10 languages? That's rare. Elena looked out at the river, buying time. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. The practical part, the mom who clipped coupons and worked double shifts, screamed to take it. But another part, the one that remembered his laughter, hesitated. What about the rest of the staff? She asked. The agency that placed me here, they have rules about poaching domestic workers. I'll handle the agency. Generous severance for them, full compliance. You wouldn't owe them a thing. She turned back to him. I need to think about it. And I need it in writing. Full job description, salary, benefits. I'm not signing anything blind. Absolutely fair, he said without hesitation. My HR director will have a formal offer letter to you by end of day. Take all the time you need. Elena stood. I should get started on the cleaning. Mrs. Chen is off today, and the guest suite needs turning over. Alex rose too. Actually, you don't have to clean anymore. Not unless you want to. Consider today paid administrative leave while you decide. She gave a small, skeptical smile, the first he'd ever seen from her. Rich people problems, she murmured. Getting paid to think. He laughed, a genuine sound this time. Yeah, well, get used to it. As she headed toward the elevator, offer swirling in her mind, her phone buzzed. A text from Miguel's school, early dismissal due to a water main break. She sighed, of course. Alex noticed. Everything okay? My son's school is letting out early. I need to pick him up. Go, he said immediately. Take the car downstairs. Driver's on call all day. She hesitated at the elevator doors. Thank you, Alex. The doors closed, leaving him alone in the sudden quiet. He walked to the window, watching the black town car pull out onto Central Park West 20 floors below. For the first time in years, Alexander Thorne felt something dangerously close to hope, not just for the company, but for himself. He had no idea how much Elena Vasquez was about to change everything. Elena Vasquez stepped out of the elevator onto the 62nd floor of Thorne Tower exactly 1 week later, clutching a new leather briefcase Alex's assistant had overnight to her apartment. She'd signed the offer letter 2 days after their talk, after reading every line twice, consulting a free legal clinic in Queens, and sleeping on it one more night. The salary was real. The benefits were real. The title, Director of Global Communications and Cultural Liaison, was now hers. She'd given notice to the domestic agency that morning. The supervisor had been stunned, then gracious once Alex's HR team wired a substantial placement completion bonus. No hard feelings. Now, wearing a tailored navy pantsuit she'd bought on sale at Macy's, her first real business outfit, Elena felt every eye in the open-plan executive floor turn toward her. Whispers rippled. The maid from the penthouse? Here. In corner office territory, Alex was waiting outside the glass-walled conference room, sleeves rolled up again, holding a tablet. "Morning," he said with an easy smile that didn't quite hide his nerves. "Ready for your debut?" "As I'll ever be," she replied, smoothing an invisible wrinkle from her jacket. He led her past rows of sleek desks to a corner office with her name already on the door, E. Vasquez. Inside, a MacBook Pro sat on a clean desk, floor-to-ceiling windows framing Midtown, and a small welcome basket with high-end noise-canceling headphones, a company Amex, and a handwritten note from Alex. "Welcome to the team. Let's build something great." First stop, the Monday morning executive strategy meeting. 10 senior VPs and directors ringed a long walnut table, all men except for CFO Lauren Park, who gave Elena a curious but warm nod. Alex introduced her without fanfare. "Everyone, this is Elena Vasquez, our new Director of Global Communications. She closed the Al Mansour merger last week, literally saved it, so if anyone questions her seat at this table, take it up with the $2.5 billion that just hit our accounts." A few awkward chuckles. The head of development, a silver-haired guy named Greg who'd once complained to Alex about the help using the private elevator, avoided her eyes. The agenda moved fast. Pipeline updates, regulatory hurdles in Brazil, a potential joint venture in Shanghai. When the Asia lead started fumbling through a Mandarin term sheet summary, Elena raised a hand. "May I?" She pulled up the document on the shared screen, switching seamlessly to Mandarin to highlight a key concession the team had missed. Then, in English, she translated, "They're offering us favorable tax treatment on the Shenzhen parcel, but only if we commit to local hiring quotas. We can counter with a phased rollout to protect margins." Silence. Then Lauren spoke first. "That changes everything. Good catch." By the end of the meeting, 3 separate VPs had asked Elena to loop in on their deals. Greg mumbled a "welcome aboard" on his way out. Lunch was a working session in Alex's office. Sushi delivered from Nobu, a far cry from Elena's usual bodega sandwich. They reviewed her first big assignment, accompanying Alex to Dubai in 10 days for the post-merger groundbreaking, followed by stops in Tokyo and Sao Paulo. "You'll lead the cultural prep for the whole team," Alex said, popping a piece of Toro into his mouth. "Etiquette briefings, key phrases, relationship-building strategies. Al Mansour specifically requested you attend the dinner." Elena nodded, making notes. "I'll put together dossiers, family backgrounds on the key players, gift protocols, even dietary restrictions. Arabs appreciate when you remember who doesn't drink." He watched her work, something softening in his expression. "You're going to make us look good." She corrected gently. "We're going to make us look good." Afternoon brought HR paperwork, setting up direct deposit. She nearly choked seeing the first prorated paycheck amount, and a quick tour of the corporate gym and daycare subsidy program. Miguel could start the on-site aftercare next month. Safe, educational, and free. At 5:30, most of the floor emptied out. Elena stayed late, organizing files, responding to meeting invites. When she finally shut down her computer at 7 o'clock, Alex appeared in her doorway holding 2 coats. "Dinner," he said. "Not a date, just team bonding. There's a great Brazilian spot in Tribeca. Figured you could school me on how not to offend our Sao Paulo partners." She hesitated. Boundaries mattered. But refusing her first day felt wrong too. "1 drink," she said. "Then I need to get home to Miguel." They took the elevator down together. In the lobby, a few employees did double takes seeing the boss leave with the new director who'd been the maid last week. Gossip would fly tomorrow, but Elena found she didn't care. Over caipirinhas and picanha, conversation stayed professional at first. Market trends, her ideas for a company-wide language initiative. Then Alex asked about Miguel. "He's 8 going on 18, she laughed. "Obsessed with soccer and Pokemon. Wants to be a coder when he grows up." "Smart kid." Alex swirled his drink. "My dad was a subway conductor. Died when I was 12. Mom cleaned offices to keep me in private school. I get the hustle." Elena looked at him, surprised. He rarely talked about his roots. That's why I built all this, he continued quietly. So no one could ever look down on me again. Turns out I became the guy doing the looking down. He met her eyes. You called me on it. Thank you. She softened. We all have blind spots. You're fixing yours. That counts. They parted outside the restaurant with a professional handshake that lingered half a second too long. Walking to the subway, Elena felt the city air on her face and realized she was smiling. New suit, new title, new future. And maybe, just maybe, a boss who was starting to see people, not just assets. Back in his car, Alex watched her disappear into the station crowd. He told himself it was purely professional admiration. But the truth was starting to feel a lot more complicated. The Gulfstream G700 climbed out of Teterboro into a crisp October sky, banking east over the Atlantic. Elena sat in one of the cream leather captain's chairs, laptop open, reviewing the final Dubai briefing deck. Across the wide aisle, Alex nursed a sparkling water, pretending to read quarterly reports but mostly stealing glances at her. 10 days had passed since her first day on the 62nd floor, 10 days of whirlwind onboarding, late-night prep sessions, and a growing ease between them that neither had named yet. Now they were en route to the Middle East with a small team. Lauren the CFO, Greg from development, and 2 junior analysts who still looked starstruck every time Elena spoke. The trip was a victory lap disguised as work, groundbreaking ceremony for the Dubai waterfront project, investor dinners, then on to Tokyo and Sao Paulo to lock in the next pipeline deals. Al-Mansour had personally invited the entire group to his majlis after the ceremony, a rare honor. Elena wore a charcoal sheath dress and low heels, hair in a sleek low bun. No more uniform. She'd even let Alex's stylist pick a few pieces for the trip, company image, he'd insisted, footing the bill without asking. She felt polished, professional, still herself, but amplified. Halfway through the flight, turbulence hit. The jet bucked gently, the seatbelt sign dinged. Alex unbuckled and moved to the seat beside her. Mind company? He asked. She closed the laptop. Not at all. He nodded toward the window where clouds churned below. Ever flown private before? First time out of economy, period, she admitted. Miguel's going to lose his mind when I send him pictures. Alex smiled. Send him one of the bedroom in the back. Kid'll think you're a superhero. She laughed softly. The jet had a full bedroom suite, insane luxury she'd only peeked at. Silence settled, comfortable but charged. Finally Alex spoke. I've been meaning to say, you've changed the culture upstairs already. Greg actually apologized to me for how he acted during your first meeting. Said you made him look good on the Brazil call last week. Elena shrugged. I just translated accurately. He did the rest. No, Alex said firmly. You saw the cultural landmine he was about to step on, gift-giving protocol with the Sao Paulo governor, and steered him around it. That's not just translation. That's instinct. She met his eyes. Instinct born from years of being the one who had to read the room to keep a job. The honesty hung between them. He didn't look away. Elena, I don't want you to ever feel like that here. Not with me. Not with anyone. She nodded slowly. I believe you. You're proving it. The jet leveled out, turbulence faded. Cabin lights dimmed for the overnight leg. Later, after the team had claimed the bedroom and fold-out beds, Elena stayed up working. Alex brought her a cup of chamomile tea and settled across from her again. Talk to me about tomorrow night, he said. The majlis. I've done dozens of these, but I want your read. She set the tea down. It's not a meeting, it's relationship theater. Al-Mansour will serve dates and cardamom coffee first. Accept everything, even if you're full. Compliment the hospitality before any business. When he asks about family, answer personally, he'll share about his own sons. That opens the door. Alex listened intently, taking mental notes. And the gift, she continued. We're bringing the Patek for him, good choice, understated but exquisite. Present it with both hands, bow slightly. Let me introduce it in Arabic so the phrasing honors him. Got it. He paused. You're nervous. She blinked. How did you? Your left thumb rubs the side of your index finger when you're thinking hard. You've done it since the first strategy meeting. Observant man. A little, she admitted. This is the biggest stage I've ever been on. If I miss a nuance... You won't. He leaned forward. But if you do, we'll recover together. This isn't you carrying me anymore. It's us. Her chest tightened at the word us. The flight attendant dimmed the cabin further, signaling sleep time. Alex stood, then hesitated. Elena, when we land, the schedule's brutal. But I booked us an extra night in Dubai after the team flies to Tokyo. Thought you might want to see the old souks, the creek at night. Just decompress. No work. My treat. She studied him. Not a business ask. A personal one. I'd like that, she said quietly. His smile was small, genuine. Good. He returned to his seat. Elena pulled a lightweight blanket over herself, watching the stars beyond the window. 4 years her life had been survival. Single mom, dead-end jobs, languages as armor. Now the armor was turning into wings. In the hushed cabin, 30,000 feet above the ocean, Elena let herself imagine what came next. Not just the deals, not just the paycheck, but the man across the aisle who was finally learning to see her fully. And for the first time in a very long time, she fell asleep smiling. The Dubai sun dipped low over the Persian Gulf, turning the Burj Al Arab into a golden sail against the violet sky. Elena stood on the hotel balcony, wind tugging gently at her linen abaya, the respectful cover she'd chosen for the majlis earlier. The evening had been flawless. Al Mansour's warmth toward her had sealed partnerships worth hundreds of millions, and Alex had watched with quiet pride as she navigated every conversation with ease. Now the rest of the team was asleep, jet-lagged and content after a long day of ceremonies and deals. Tomorrow they'd fly to Tokyo without Alex and Elena, who had that extra night he'd quietly arranged. Alex appeared beside her, 2 small glasses of fresh mint tea in hand. He'd changed into a simple white shirt and linen trousers. No suit, no watch, just him. Thought you might need this after all that Arabic coffee, he said, offering one. She took it, their fingers brushing. Thank you. Tonight was surreal. You were incredible, he said simply. Al Mansour basically offered you a job on the spot. Elena laughed. I told him I'm very happy where I am. Alex's eyes softened. Good. They leaned against the railing, watching dhow boats glide along the creek below. For a while neither spoke, the city's hum filling the space. Finally he turned to her. Elena, I need to say something. And I don't want you to answer tonight. Just hear me. She nodded, heart picking up speed. These past weeks, watching you step into that role, seeing how you handle pressure, how you lift everyone around you, it's changed how I see a lot of things. Including myself. He took a breath. But more than that, it's changed how I feel. About you. Not as an employee. Not as the woman who saved my deal. As Elena. The brilliant, resilient, beautiful person who somehow walked into my life wearing a maid's uniform and turned everything upside down. Her throat tightened. I'm not asking for anything, he continued quickly. I know the power dynamic is complicated. I know you have Miguel, your priorities, your hard-won independence. But I needed you to know it's there. For me, it's real. And if you ever feel even a fraction of the same, I'll wait. As long as it takes. No pressure, no expectations. Just the truth. The city lights reflected in her eyes as she searched his face. No arrogance tonight. No billionaire armor. Just honesty. I don't need to wait to answer, she said softly. He stilled. I felt it too, she admitted. The way you listen now. The way you fight for me in meetings when someone still treats me like the new kid. The late nights prepping together that stopped feeling like work. I kept telling myself it was gratitude, or admiration. But it's more. Alex exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. But, she added, we do this right. Slowly. Miguel meets you first, as my boss, as a friend. We keep it quiet at the office until it's solid. I won't risk my career or his stability on something impulsive. Absolutely, he said without hesitation. Whatever pace you set. I'll earn it every day. She smiled, the first full, unguarded one he'd ever seen from her in daylight. You already are. He reached out, not for a kiss, but to gently tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was light, reverent. They stood there a long time, shoulder to shoulder, watching the city sparkle below. 6 months later, Thorne Enterprises announced record quarterly earnings, with international revenue up 42%, credited publicly to innovative global strategies led by director Elena Vasquez. Privately, Alex proposed on a quiet weekend in the Hamptons, down on one knee in the sand with Miguel holding the ring box, after giving his enthusiastic 8-year-old approval. Elena said yes with tears and laughter. A year after that, they married in a small ceremony at a vineyard upstate, Elena in an elegant lace gown, Miguel walking her down the aisle, Alex's mother crying happy tears in the front row. Elena kept her role, eventually rising to Chief Operating Officer. Alex learned, with her patient coaching, how to be a stepfather, how to share power, how to value people over profit margins. The penthouse maid's quarters were converted into a playroom for Miguel and, eventually, a little sister. And somewhere in a quiet moment years later, Alex would still look at Elena across a boardroom table, or across their kitchen table, and remember the night he laughed at the woman who would go on to save not just his company, but his heart. He never laughed at her again. Only with her. Every single day.